welcome to Flosstube. This is Amy and my channel name is Harpy Stitch. If you are new, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. I am filming this at 11:15 on May 11th. I finished work. It is Mother's Day here in America, so if you are a parental unit of either human children or fur babies, happy Mother's Day. It is really going to be really warm here today. It's about 80 something degrees for the high, which we've been really chilly. So this is our first really hot day, I would think. In fact, I had to turn off the air conditioner to film so it wouldn't kick on and you wouldn't be able to hear me. This is Harpy Stitch and it is all about cross stitch. If you like what you see, please give us a like, a comment, a subscribe. I say us because I'm used to my husband being involved. So since last week, I filmed a little early last week. I filmed on Saturday before we went to see the kid for their birthday. I now have a 26-year-old. They turned 26 on last Sunday. May the 4th be with them. That wasn't a thing when the year they were born, but it soon followed after. Their first movie was Phantom Menace because it came out right after their birthday and we weren't sure anybody would babysit, so we took the baby with. Slept through the whole movie except for when they got hungry at the beginning. It was actually pretty awesome. So it was a great visit. Their husband did a fire. We ate outside. There were tons of bunnies playing in the yard. Got to play with their kitties. It was actually a really lovely drive. It was the first time driving anywhere in a while that the trees were green, so that was lovely. Been a busy week at work. We've only got about 3 weeks of school left. Kids are a little bit full of spring fever, as are the teachers. In fact, I do have to grade after I get done here, in addition to do some cleaning around the house. I got accepted into college. I think I mentioned that last time. Yesterday I finished up my FAFSA application. Of course, I don't qualify for any Pell Grants, but I'm hoping maybe I can find some scholarships. I have to contact the financial aid office at the college now that I filled out my FAFSA, but it'll take a couple of days to process. So part of my summer will be filling that out, or filling out applications for scholarships and stuff. I'm hoping I can maybe get something through my state science teacher association because we are short on high school science teachers. Still have to figure out exactly what classes I need. I don't think I need the 30 that are listed on my plan because I already have a degree, but I have to talk to somebody in the science department, somebody in the education department to narrow down what I actually need. Hopefully it will be financially feasible. I am going to be teaching 2 sessions of summer school. I learned this week that I'm teaching 4th grade both sessions, which is fine by me. Excuse me. And I realized after I signed off last time that I forgot to share my monthly stitch totals for how many stitches I did in April. And I know I missed some at some point, but it's okay. For April, I got 8,928.25 stitches in. It was a very busy month, lots of driving, because we drove to Wisconsin one day, we drove down to Rochester one day. For my year so far, because I'm doing, the 50 for 50, my year so far, I've had 27 starts, and I've had 8 starts this month alone for May Mayhem in Fandom Central, also Maynia. I'm doing Mermania, although I'm only doing one mermaid, but it is my first Mirabilia. So I have 8 let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 starts to share with you today. A bunch of whips. I've been working on the spring scavenger hunt challenge in Fandom Stitching Central, working with my teammates. I've decided that while we're doing that and doing the 24 new starts in May, I am skipping the weeklies for Fandom. I just can't fit it all in with working and needing to grade papers, which, it's part of the job, but sometimes I just wish I could leave it all at home or all at work, and so I can just do home stuff at home. So let's get started with my 30-second floss tube and start sharing. I did try to find what they'll look like when they're done, pictures for most everything. I admit on this first one I'm about to show you, I was too lazy because I already found a bunch. So my first new start this week was Christmas morning. It was started on my kid's birthday, May 4th. It is from the 2008 Christmas ornament, Just Cross Stitch magazine. It is designed by Dragon Dreams Inc. They actually have made several of these for the Christmas things. It is, here's Santa taking a nap, and I haven't done his back stitch, but he's wearing pajamas, and it's got a little bit of the fuzzy stuff thread, and then this green that you see here is going to be a dragon sleeping in Santa's arms. And this is the one I didn't find. I am doing this 2/1 on my 36 count stone washed by, was it Seraphim? Yeah, Seraphim. This is the same fabric I'm doing frogwarts on. I had a little bit extra when I bought it. I cut off what I didn't need so I could maybe use it. And so this was about the right size. This is supposed to be a Christmas ornament. I don't know how I will finish it yet, and I think once I get the back stitch in, I'm actually going to come in here and some of the fluff is stuck underneath, but I want to do the back stitch before I make it fluffier so that I can get the back stitch in. But it's going to be super cute. I actually want to do all the little dragon Christmas ornaments because they are all adorable. Let's see, what else? Oh, there's 18 colors, and he is so cute, or he will be cute. Right now, he's just got a blank face. Luckily, his eyes are shut, so it's not as creepy. Oh, there's a little piece of black thread hanging out there on Santa's face. All right. That was my first new start. My second new start was Snow Day by Squareology. I started this on May 5th. This is also a Christmas ornament. It has got 6 colors. It is 2/2, and I'm also doing this on 36 count stone washed. So I was never a big figure skater, but I did go figure skating a couple of times. It wasn't as big down in Texas when I was a kid. And then there's a sled, and my husband actually has a sled very much like this from his childhood that's in our closet. So this made me think of that. It was actually supposed to be on like polka dotted fabric. I am missing the jewel pack. I did email Just Another Button Company because I'm not sure, like I tried 1, 2, 3 stitch, but since this is from what, like 2004, I don't know if the bead pack is, so I did email Just Another Button Company this week to see if they can tell me the individual buttons. And then I might either do it through 1, 2, 3 stitch or through Black Cat Stitchery to see if I can get the individual little buttons to go on it. I want to show you what it's supposed to look like. There, I'm covering up the pattern with my hand. Now the interesting thing about this is that the pattern for this whole thing is right here because it's part of, I'm going to do it this way. So here, part of it is here, and what you do is you get a fourth and then you turn. So you get a fourth of it and then you turn it 90 degrees, you stitch this part, you turn it 90 degrees. And then this is like the edge of the one side of the pattern, and then the other edge of the pattern is here. So like this part here, or this part here is part of it, and then this will go this way a bit. So what happens is the part that you turn like this, the bottom corner and the left side end up butting up together as you turn it to make the full sled. And it's such an ingenious way of engineering a repeating pattern. I wish I could show you the pattern because then it would be easier to see, but I thought it was an ingenious way to design it so that, you know, as you turn it, it finishes the design. It was such good engineering. I was pretty impressed once I started working on it. I didn't get how exactly it would work before I started. I just trusted it, and it is amazing. So my next one is Treasure Map, designed by Jenny Barton. This is from The World of Cross Stitching, March 2019. This is what it will look like when it is done. Do like a good map, but I do like pirate stuff. And it's got like a crack in there, so bonus. that is what it'll look like when it's finished. I started this on May 6th. There are 20 colors. I'm doing it 2/1, and I am using some of my 14 count pecan fabric flair from Fabric Flair that I used for my Dead Outlaw Female and my Dead Cowboy. And I actually have another thing. I think I still got enough to do more projects. I'm so excited. All right, so I started here with the little accented waves here, and this is the edge of the island. I was missing a few colors. I did pull the magazine out. I printed a color copy with my little printer scanner, but some of the because there are some half stitches or quarter stitches in here for the tentacle, and I had to pull it out. It was a little hard to see under the back stitching on the printed copy, so I pulled out the magazine so I could refer to that to make sure I did the quarter stitches in the right spot. I mean, they're literally like a half of a half stitch. So, but there is it. And I thought, you know, the pecan could also work in addition to like a dust ball thing, like antique paper. So I'm making the most of my fabric. But it's a really fun design so far, and I look forward to seeing more of it come to life. All right. Next new start was May 7th. It is my very first ink circles. This is from 2004, I think, when I looked at it. My husband loves turtles. We are a big fan of Terry Pratchett. And there is the myth of the fact that the flat earth is sitting on top of the tortoise's back, and that when when people were asked what was below that turtle, they said it's turtles all the way down. So, in honor of the love of turtles and tortoises, and the fact that it is a quote in Terry Pratchett and many other things, I am going to do this. I don't have a hanger thing for it yet. I didn't find one I really liked. I would really like something more sea than the heart one, but I made a start. I am doing this on 32 count Miracle Mint by Silkweaver. It's 2/2 and it's 13 colors. This is one of the pieces of fabric I got at Welcome Stitchery when we went down to Blue Earth last year. This fabric is so cute. The fabric it called for doesn't exist anymore because the pattern's so old, but I finished most of a turtle. And he's very cute. I went maybe a little wider than I needed to because I'm not sure how I want to finish it. I mean, it'll be like a bell pull kind of thing, but I'm not sure how much space I wanted on the sides of the turtle. So I was waiting to see because I kind of want it to be even, just like in the picture, that it's even on the top and the bottom and everything. This fabric, I've never worked with Silkweaver fabric before, and it's very soft, but at the same time, it feels kind of like thick and sturdy. Like it's not in a bad way, but like it feels thicker than a lot of the fabrics I've worked with, but it's very soft. It's very easy to work with. And yeah, this is one of my cheap Temu hoops, but it was just the perfect size. I only need about one turtle. So very cute. I look forward to getting more progress on this. I've basically just been doing everything that fits in my scavenger hunt prompts. The nice thing is a lot of those prompts are like stitch by a swimming pool, stitch in your car, stitch on even weave, stitch on linen. So then I can pick whatever project that fits in there. I think my hardest one was getting the cat to cuddle with me. I had to go sit in my husband's spot because the cat won't cuddle with me in my stitchy spot, in my usual couch spot. And then he was weirded out that I was in daddy's spot, and it took him a little while to come over. And then I had to coax him because he decided to wander off and chase things outside. I had to coax him over to get my end picture when I got to my required stitches. It's interesting though because everybody takes different parts of the scavenger hunt, and I did get approval. They haven't filled up the swimming pool here at my apartment, but I did get a check mark that says it doesn't have to be, like I could just sit by it even if it's empty. So I might do that next weekend and just go sit outside and stitch in the sun. That could be fun. Next is A Witch's Welcome by Annie Craft of Dirty Annie's. When I bought a chart of Dirty Annie's when Stitchville was going was closing, and I thought it was my very first Dirty Annie's, but I guess technically she's not doing this under her label. But this is what it is supposed to look like. So very cute. It's not that far yet, obviously, but I do like a good welcome sign, and I wanted to update my welcome sign. It's just some flowers. This is, I started this on May 9th. I'm doing it 1/2. There's 10 colors, and I'm doing it on 40 count antique lace by Seraphim Fabrics. So I just have a beginning on the sign. If you look really close, you might be able to see part of the O and the C in welcome, because it is not very easy to see yet. And then a little bit of the decorative piece there. But just one little stitchy session for my new start. You need it. 200 stitches gets you 4 points. 100 stitches gets you 2. 50 gets you 1. So I'm trying to get 200 stitches in all my new starts before I put them away. And then luckily I can stack them with some of the prompts for the scavenger hunt. So I've mostly not been doing that because I want to work on a bunch of different things. But I'm already over halfway through my 50 for 50 goal, so maybe I'll treat myself to another start at some point in the year. I have had to get a few threads at Michael's that I was missing for a few projects, because I was like, I want to start these, but I don't have the right colors to start, because most stuff I start in the center. I think I am on my last few full coverages, starting in the left corner and working my way down. But all right, last new start for you is Matilda. It is based on the artwork in the rolled doll. It was charted by Fiona Baker. And I love Matilda. And I like that Fiona kept his original art style. So what I did for this is I actually got a cotton bag, like an off-white natural cotton bag from Michael's. I got a pack of them. And I'm going to do Matilda on one side. So this is the beginning of her legs in the center. And then this is a book and this is a book. And that's what I got done yesterday. So what I'm going to do on the other side of the bag is the following month after Matilda is the BFG, Big Friendly Giant, if you are not familiar. So on the other side of the bag, I'm going to put this one, and it's going to be my rolled doll bag. So I'm actually probably going to start that later today on the other side of the bag. I'm just keeping it all in the same little thing, and all the colors for both projects are going to be in there. But I'm going to have a rolled doll bag. And then what I'm going to do is, when I'm finished, I will flip it out inside out like this. I will put some interfacing in there. And then, I know you can't really tell. That's my back. Not too bad. So what I did is, when I centered this on the side, this has got, at the bottom of the bag, it's got a flat section. So this is the side. So that's supposed to sit flat here. And so what I did is I centered it between here and this flat edge, so that when it's full of something, it has a base. So that's what how I'm going to center. I almost started to pull off this red thread, but this is my center mark for the other side, and I got to make sure I don't until I start that later. So I'm going to have a rolled doll bag. I'm excited. I actually have some other bags. There's a environmental one with like 4 animals that I'd like to do on those bags. As a teacher, I'm constantly in need of bags. I love bags. I don't always use them, but I love them. All right, so that was my new starts. I'm going to start one. I've also got the thread I need for 100 Owls by Owl Force Embroidery. I got that all printed. I usually do center starts, but with that one, there's a center marker on the picture for the whole design, but it's really hard to see exactly where it is on the detailed pattern because it doesn't show it on the pattern itself. So I don't want to screw that up. So I'm going to do a corner start for that. And the cool thing is they tell you every owl that's in there. So I'm excited about that. What else do I have coming up that I want to start? Excuse me. There's another thing that I'm probably going to start in the next week. Oh, Queer Goth from the Pride packet, from the Pride bundle last year or the year before, for a co-worker at Michael's. So I have a few things that I know I'm going to start in the next week. Some stuff I've been either avoiding starting because I have to cut fabric, or I just haven't wanted to cut fabric, or because I was missing colors. I do have several of the kits, but I've been wanting to start some of my bigger projects. I have a whole list of 24. Where did I put my list? I'm going to have to mark off the ones I've done and make sure I have at least a few colors so I can start on the other things. So, whips. This one was a start this month as well. Old Scully by Theo de Fantasy Dream World, adapted for cross stitch by La Petite Croix de Lucie. I think he's will go really well with my fortune teller that I did last year. I was a little concerned when I started this because there's some blends, and I am doing this on Haunted, 40 count Haunted by Fabrics by Stephanie. And there are some blends in there. As I've read, they would look too bulky, but they're looking okay. When I was working on this yesterday, though, I noticed that this is 470, and this is also supposed to be 470, but I don't know if I actually got the right color. So my Haunted, I think he's going to look super spooky. I think he already looks kind of spooky with just having the eye holes and nothing else on the bottom of his head. I am doing this for Jason X Stitches Halfway to Halloweensal. That is why I started it on May 2nd. And I still have more of the Haunted fabric to use for something else. I don't know what I'm going to do on it, but I'm going to find something. Alright, so he's looking really good. I've used him for a couple of, I had a challenge to stitch 300 stitches on 40 count, and I've only gotten 165 in him. So after I start get my 200 stitches for Big Friendly Giant, I will probably switch over this and get the rest of my stitches for my scavenger hunt challenge. So he's gonna be so cool, and I'm probably not frogging those that are slightly different color because nobody will notice in the end of it. All right, and then for one of my challenges, I need to stitch in red, so I worked on my Shawshank sampler, or I need to work on colors between 800 and whatever, and this is what I used. Still haven't gotten an order for this, so I'm not worried about rushing or anything. And you've seen this a bunch of times because I've made about 25 of them. But it's an easy design. It's on 11 count Ivory Aida. There's 4 colors. I'm doing 3/1. It is designed by SS Prop Designs on Etsy. He sells the completed design. He creates other movie props. He replicates movie props and sells them. So that's pretty cool. This next one is Mothra. This is my test stitch that I was asked to do. They asked if they were looking for somebody, and they were doing wacky bugs. So I picked Mothra because we are an atomic monster household around here. And that is what it'll look like when it's done. I took this to the kiddo's house, and because it's on 14 count. It is on Sandstorm, the DMC 14 count colored stuff. And I started this on 4/26, and I've gotten quite a bit of progress. I think this will be super easy to finish up. I will probably be stitching on this next weekend when I'm sitting out by the pool. I will hopefully try to find a semi-shady spot so that the glare doesn't make it hard for me to see. I was missing one color right here, so that's empty still. It seems weird, but I did stitch on this a little bit while we were stitching on the fire, and the smoke, of course, kept following me, so I will probably have to give this a super good wash because it smells a little smoky, but it's, like, I don't mind the smell of smoke, like, not from a fire, like, not from, like, a fun fire. I did discover that one of the pieces that I was going to use for one of my projects smells like smoke from when we had a fire in the building next door to our apartment. and a little stain on it. It's navy blue, so I didn't notice the stain right away because it kind of hid. Last night I cleaned it with clear dish soap and vinegar. Mixed those two together and let it soak for a bit and rinsed out. Most of the smell came out, but a little bit of the stain was still there. So it is now back in soaking in soapy water with baking soda and vinegar. And if I can't get the smell out, then I'll have to find some different fabric for the gift that I'm going to use it for, because I don't want to give anybody smoky fabric. And it was like strong enough that it made your throat burn when you smelled it. But that is Mothra, looking good. There are no shaded overlap lines on the pattern for this from page to page, and the grids are done in 5x5s rather than 10x10 for the darker lines, but it's still pretty easy to follow. I'm looking forward to getting it finished. I'll have to figure out a way. I'm not very good at taking pictures. I will have to figure out a way to make it look really cool for me to take pictures of the test stitch. So I have my next one. It's another one that met one of the challenges for this one. Was a pattern with a car on it, not in a car. I had to do some stitching in the car as well. This is Frogwords Year 2 by Black Needle Society, and I realized that I've been saying I started this on June 30th, which is true for Year 5, but I started the beginning of this Year 1 on May 4th, on my kid's birthday, before Frogwords last year. So this was, and then I was working my way down, and I just started with the date of start is just for Year 1. I didn't do a separate date of start for every year because my goal was to make sure it was well centered and work my way down, because since Year 5 was the year I was doing, I wanted to make sure I got started. So I started at the top, and then I worked my way down just the left hand side of each year till I could get to Year 5 for the retreat start on June 30th. So I worked on Year 2, and I'm gonna just do that. So I got some of the basilisk in. I got Enemy of Enemies of the Air Beware. I got some of the tree and a little bit of the spider, but I mostly worked. This is metallic, the DMC Etoile. But there is Hermione as the cat, and I used fuzzy thread for her face and her tail and her hands. And there's the Weasleys. I wish the Weasleys would adopt me. The Weasleys are my favorite Harry Potter parents. Of course, they're about the only ones that survive. Most all the parents die. There's a weird thing with orphans in that movie, in that series. But, you know. So, that is Frogwords Year 2. I really need to come down here and finish Year 5 because I've got that much left. I've got the archway and Wop's head. Then I think I'm going to go in. His feet look a little clubby because there's no back stitch. I got to figure out how to back stitch those. And then over here, I want to go back in because there's little awnings over, but the colors are so close in the DMC choices that it's hard to see them. So I've got to figure out how I want to back stitch just so they show up decently. We got the Weasley twins. Got Neville. Neville, one of the unsung heroes in the movie. A little bit of swamp. Proclamation 24. So yes, I really need to get my butt in gear and just finish this last little bit. But I do have another prompt where I need 400 stitches on linen, and this is linen, so I will probably be using that. I also have an even weave, which I will probably, I don't know what I'm going to use. I have lots of stuff on even weave. You know what? I still haven't finished my April Whip Go for Cliffhanger, so I should just do that and do 400 stitches on Cliffhanger, or get started on my Wisdom Whip Go for this month and do 400 stitches on that. And those are both on even weaves because Lugana is even weave. Or I could get out old map and work on that, but no, I think I'm gonna get take out Cliffhanger and work on it for Whip Go. It's a little late, but my board, my rules. As long as I get my Whip Go days done, right? Even if it's not in the right month. All right, so let's see. That's 2/2, or excuse me, May 2nd, not May 4th. I started it before my kid's birthday. I think I had another start for my kid's birthday. Brain time, you know, whatever. All right, now, this is where I'm filling in with my Mermania or Mirame. It is my only mermaid that I am working on currently. This is Emerald Mermaid by Mirabilia. Okay. This is from 2004. That is what she shall look like. I started this on the 1st of May this year. I'm doing it 2/2. She has 28 colors, and I am doing this on 32 count Juniper by Fabrics by Stephanie. And there's plenty of fabric, so I'm just letting it fall. Slightly variegated fabric. So the center is right about in here. And I started with some of the plant, and then I did start on her skin. It is 1/1. I did full crosses. I know some people like to do it half cross, but I like full crosses. I want it to look like a painting and have no peaky beaks. And then I got the first flower in. I am going to, when I get a little bit more done, I'm going to see if it will fit in some of the scroll frames I got with the cloth on it. And then maybe mount it. One of the reasons I haven't done that yet is I do not have a stand that will hold those. I only have the little grippy stands that work pretty well for hoops, but they don't work well for scroll rods. I don't know if the lady that comes to my stitchy meetup still has that scroll rod frame. I'm hoping she does, because it's got little knobs and you just adjust the width and you set it on top and then you can flip it over. Because I think that's what I would need to do for the scroll frame when I get the beads on, and then I can bead as I go. And it would hold it for me and not be uncomfortable. The problem when I was working on Dancing in the Moonlight with the scroll frame is that I didn't have a good stand for it, and it would slide down. And then when you hit a certain point, you can't use the clamp thing that is on the traditional stand, the frame, you know, because it's meant for hoops, not scroll rods. So then I would have to worry about it. So I ended up holding it in hand, and that just made my hands hurt. So there's where I am with my Mirabilia Emerald Mermaid. I'm being very careful, trying to make sure I don't get any of the weird stitches, like when you move from right to left. I think I have a strategy for that now, and it seems to be working pretty well, and it's just something I need to remember to do consistently to keep that the top left thing from drifting too far to the left if you're moving up a row and going to the left. You know how that works, right? And then sometimes your thread pulls kind of up into the corner and it doesn't sit quite perfect. But yeah, there's that. All right. So that is all of my stitching this week. I am looking forward to the summer, where I'm going to try to get, I should get all but, I figured it out. I think I did the math. And if I continue to do my 24 starts for the month of May, I will have all but 5 of my starts for the year done. And it seems kind of anticlimactic, but it worked out perfectly, because I was worrying about how I was going to do that if I'm starting school and going back to college in the fall. So if I have all my whips, or all my new starts started, and they're all whips, then I will feel less pressure, and I can just work on them as needed. I cannot believe I already have 27 starts, and it is 5 months in. And I have, 8 finishes, which is really good for me, and I'm only 5 months in. I think one of the things I might do over the summer, once I get all my starts done, is I think I'm going to focus on the little kits and get as many of those done to bring my whip count back down a little bit. Because I am going to need to do some stitching during the school year while I'm going to college for my own sanity. but I also don't want to feel like I'm neglecting any of my pieces. So I will have to figure that out when I get there, because I will probably only get a tiny bit of stitching time. But it's okay. It will all work out. I am not going to be going to school full time. It'll probably be part-time, maybe 2 classes a try or a semester, because St. Cloud is on semester system. So we shall see. Life is a work in progress. I'm a work in progress, just like all my cross stitch is a work in progress. So, if you have any questions about any of those, please ask them down below. You can email me, you can message me on Instagram. Feel free to reach out if you have anything that I need to improve now that I'm doing this by myself. Please let me know. You can comment below, you can message me privately, however you would like. Let's see, my plans for the next month or the next week. I'm going to continue with May Mayhem, starting my 24 starts. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any because I want the bonus points. And the scavenger hunt for fandom. That will be on my agenda. And that's really my only plans. Once Mayhem's done and I've done all my 24 starts, then that last week of May, I might get back into doing my weeklies. I just, time-wise, I cannot manage all of it. The last day of school is May 30th for the kids, and then teachers have half a day the first Monday in June, which is June 2nd, to finalize grades. So that's what I'll be doing. Then on June 4th, I have a meeting about summer school, or targeted services as they call it, to find out exactly how that's going to work, like how many kids, what room I'll be in, curriculum, etc. And so my plans include getting ready for summer school, getting ready for Frogwarts, getting ready to go back to college in the fall. Did not think I would be going back to college at 50, but here we are. So, people I've been watching this week. I've developed a new routine in the morning, and I try to fit in at least 1 floss tube in the morning. And if people have really short ones, sometimes I get more in. And I'm trying to catch up with some people that maybe I started watching and then I slacked off. I'm hoping to get more in. I think summer school won't start till 9. So I'm going to try to develop a routine in the morning where I do a little bit of a workout, get some exercise, do some floss tube. And I've been trying to do floss tube while I do other things to get more floss tube in. So a lot of my viewing lately has been floss tube, at least in the morning. Alright, so I caught up with Jason X Cross Stitches. He is the person who is hosting the Halfway to Halloweensal that I am using Old Scully for. I like to stitch Halloween all year long. It is my favorite. I also have gotten back to watching Dark X Stitch, Nadia. I subscribed to her ages ago. I watched her first few videos, and then I have probably 200 Flosstubers on my subscription list. And I just, excuse me, when school started back up, I just lost track of some people. And so I'm trying to go back and watch back catalogs of people and then just stay up with their weekly stuff. Nadia has a lot of nerdy, dark, spooky, full coverage stuff. She makes needle minders. She does cross-stitch designs, including her daughter's artwork. I just got to the episode where her granddaughter was officially born, which was like last June. So that's exciting. Yeah, so I am just currently making my way through, and I'm almost caught up, so that's fun. I've been watching B's and T's Stitching Sebastian again. He has a lot of bee-related stuff, loves tea, so if you're looking for tea recommendations, I really recommend you check out his channel. Also lots of nerdy stuff. He's got a Smog. I think he finally finished Smog. I have some back issues of his to watch as well. Mad Morty and Brom, I watched their latest earlier the week. Brom's Jeweled Skeleton Court combo that he's doing, where he's combining the King, the Queen, and the Jester into one piece, is looking amazing. Morty's making some progress on her Lilith, and it is a gorgeous piece. I've been watching some more Stitched by Liz. I'm up to episode 75. She has some great projects. Husband makes funny comments. I caught up with Allie's latest, a wee Scot in Yorkshire. She's got some really cute stuff. She's very quiet and very sweet. If you like a Scottish accent, you know, that helps too. Also Stitching with Charlie, I watched her this week. Caught up with Michaela, Cinematic Stitches. I usually am watching on my tablet and then I project it to our giant TV. Luckily, if you scroll up, I can still type and add. A lot of them in the mornings I'm not quite awake enough to want to comment, and I don't tend to comment on most of the videos when they're like a year or so older. But a lot of people are doing a lot of cool stuff, and it's always fun to see what other people are working on. There's samplers and all sorts of stuff, and I'm not a sampler stitcher for the most part, but I do watch, you know, enjoy watching people working on whatever they're working on. And a lot of these things I'm like, that's so pretty, but I don't want to stitch it. It's not something I want to spend hours on doing, but I like watching other people do it. So, all right. So if you were just here for cross stitchy stuff, that is all done with. I am just going to share a couple things I've been reading and watching. Just finished The Three Body Problem by I can't even pronounce it. Liu, and then last name is Cixin. I'm not even going to try. I mentioned this a little while ago. It didn't really thrill me. It was okay, and it was kind of interesting to see the internal workings of China's like political situation, but I was wanting it to get more exciting, and it just didn't. It like, it's gonna sound weird, but it was very Chinese, like that idea that very proper, very polite, everything very organized. That is so through the book. I was wanting more of a sci-fi adventure like the TV show. And from what I've heard, the rest of the books are pretty much the same, so I don't think I'll be reading the rest. There were some interesting concepts, but it just wasn't as gripping as I needed it to be. So, like, it wasn't bad. It just, I think there's so many cultural things that are cultural specific. I had a hard time connecting in that manner. And, you know, again, it had some really interesting concepts and things that were interesting to me, but it just wasn't, I don't know. I can't explain it. It just didn't grab me the way I wanted it to watch or read the rest of the books. You know, the writing was good, the characters were good, but I didn't vibe with it. That's what I'm trying to say. I just started the sixth, the untold story of the first six women astronauts in America by Lauren Grush. That is interesting so far, getting a little background, how they got there. Just got to them getting accepted to the program in the first little bit of their training, and the issues they were having with the external fuel tanks, which delayed the shuttle program being launched, and what it was like to go from like their regular lives to suddenly being examined by the media, and how they wanted to deal with it and how they adapted a little bit. So still early in the book, but it is interesting so far. Maybe I should, once I'm done with the audiobook, because I want a copy of the paperback. Once I'm done with the audiobook, maybe I'll give that book away, because it's not one I'll read again. The other option is to put it in my classroom for high school students next year, but I got to make sure everything's appropriate first. As for watching, a lot of Flosstube in the mornings. In the evenings, we've been doing Masked Singer, the only reality show we watch around here. Nobody's being exploited. It's fun to guess. We never remember who's on it, but it's fun to guess who they are, and the costumes are amazing, and we get to enjoy music. So that's fun. And Taskmaster, all the versions of Taskmaster we can get our hands on. It's a panel show where comedians are assigned absurd tasks, and the first American is on the British Taskmaster. They tried to launch the Taskmaster here in the US, but they shortened it to 30 minutes instead of an hour, and they messed with the formula, and it just didn't work. I'm hoping they would restart it again with the more traditional formula. I mean, we've watched Taskmaster Ireland, Taskmaster Australia, New Zealand, Iceland. Like, they're all over the place, and when they stick with the formula, it works really well. But America chose to make it a 30-minute show, and it just didn't work as well. Maybe they'll try again. Probably not. But so those are like our weekly watches, although Masked Singer just finished up. But Taskmaster has got a new season, so it's just a couple of episodes in. Movies. We watched Apocalypse Clown, which is a horror comedy. It is about these people who are clowns, and they don't ever get out of their clown outfits. Like, they live as their clown selves all the time. And inexplicably, all internet and phones stop working. And they're like, wait, it's our time. There's no other entertainment. We'll be super successful. And they decide to form, itchy nose. They decide to form a traveling troupe, sort of. But there's a scary clown played by a woman, and she is fearless in her comedy. And she's funny, but her clown, she's a scary clown. Like, a scary clown. She even her face makeup looks kind of like it. And I learned, because my husband learned this somehow, I don't know where he learned it. Clowns have to register their makeup with the Clown Association, because no two clowns can have the exact same makeup. Like, they're supposed to have distinctive looks. So they had to make sure that none of the clowns in the movie had an actual clown's makeup. But the little girl, I shouldn't say little girl. She is short. But she's like the scariest person in the movie. Totally scary. And one of the clowns, who's a mime style clown, has a beef. And so does, because the mime clown and the scary clown, they both try to perform in the park, and she's been banned from performing in the park because she scares the kids. And then there's these two human statues that have beef with the mime and the scary clown. And some weird stuff happens. It is funny. There are some pretty gory parts, but it is just kind of crazy. And it was super fun to watch. I was laughing so hard. But yeah, and there's actually a story arc and some character development, so that's good too. So if you like horror comedy, check that one out. We also watched Death of a Unicorn, which has Paul Rudd playing a dad who is going to become an executor for these really rich people, or not an executor, but he's going to kind of he's a lawyer, and he's going to kind of take over the signing business end of their stuff. Like, he's going to be their proxy kind of thing. And he's got a daughter played by Jenna Ortega, and he's taking her with him because they're very big on family. And he lost his wife, she lost her mom, and they've been struggling with their relationship since. No, this is not a spoiler. This happens in like the opening scene as they drive to the rich people's house. Tia Leone is the rich lady who is the mom. I can't remember the name of the guy who plays her son, but he is so good. He's just like nails this like obnoxious rich kid. And it is kind of a horror. It is a little bit of a comedy. It's a little bit of a drama. So on their way to these people's houses, they are arguing in the car, and they hit an animal. Turns out this animal is a unicorn, and it doesn't die right away. And yeah, insanity ensues. Like, it's a baby unicorn, and mom and dad get pissed, and they come seeking vengeance, and the Jenna Ortega's character is the first one to realize, hey, this is a unicorn. These are the things that are going to happen. And she does research. But nobody takes her seriously. You're just a girl. What do you know? Like, you're just a teenage girl. What do you know? You're ridiculous. This can't possibly be happening. They can't possibly be dangerous. It's dead. Yada, yada, yada. They don't listen. Bad things happen. So, it is a really good story. It has a relatively happy ending. Well, no, I think it has a pretty happy ending. It's not a perfect, it's not perfect for everybody, but relatively speaking, it's a happy ending. So that one is fun. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit of an action adventure, horror comedy kind of thing. So I also recommend that one. We are going to get together with the kid tonight and watch a movie over Discord because it's Mother's Day. We'll have burgers for dinner. I am going to sign off here, do some grading, do some house cleaning, and try to get in a little bit of relaxing. And it is a gorgeous day. And yesterday it was in the 70s and we had the door cracked and it was wonderful, but it's too warm outside today to crack the door. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. May today be kinder to you than yesterday, and tomorrow be kinder to you than today. I hope to see you around. Bye.